The day was supposed to be perfect. The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden hues over the alien landscape of Zentrix Prime, a planet where crystal spires jutted into the heavens and rivers shimmered with liquid light. It was a world unlike any other, known for its breathtaking beauty and advanced civilization. But on this particular afternoon, all eyes were on the grand hall of the royal palace, where preparations were underway for what many considered the most significant union in centuries. At the center of it all stood Aaron Vela, the human man at the heart of this cosmic drama. He wasn't your typical hero, neither overly muscular nor exceptionally clever, but there was something about him that made people take notice. Perhaps it was his quiet confidence or the way he carried himself with an air of humility despite being thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Or maybe it was simply his smile, a warm, genuine expression that seemed to transcend species and cultures alike. Opposite Aaron stood Lyrian Daxter, the alien princess who had captured his heart, or so everyone believed. She was stunning even by Zentrixian standards. Her skin glowed faintly, as though infused with stardust, and her long, flowing hair shifted colors depending on her mood. Deep indigo when calm, fiery crimson when agitated. As the sole heir to the throne of Zentrix Prime, she commanded respect wherever she went. Yet beneath her regal exterior lay a woman torn between duty and desire. For months, rumors had swirled about their impending marriage. According to ancient tradition, Aaron had been promised to Lyrian as part of an inheritance pact forged decades ago by their ancestors. To the Zentrixians, such arrangements were sacred, binding not just individuals but entire bloodlines together. For Aaron, who had crash-landed on Zentrix Prime after his spaceship malfunctioned during a routine mission, this sudden destiny felt surreal. Still, he couldn't deny the connection he shared with Lyrian. Their bond had grown stronger with each passing day, fueled by shared laughter, whispered secrets, and stolen moments under the twin moons. But today, chaos erupted before anyone could say, "I do." As Aaron adjusted the ceremonial sash draped across his shoulder, a vibrant tapestry woven from threads mined from the planet's rarest crystals, he noticed a commotion near the entrance of the hall. Guards stationed at the massive doors exchanged uneasy glances as whispers rippled through the crowd, gathered to witness the historic event. Then, without warning, the doors burst open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows. "Wait!" came a voice sharp enough to cut through steel. All heads turned toward the intruder, who stepped forward dramatically, throwing back her hood to reveal a face strikingly similar to Lyrian's. This was Caliph Daxter, Lyrian's younger sister, and the storm threatening to upend everything. Caliph was every bit as captivating as her sibling, though her features carried a sharper edge. Where Lyrian exuded grace and poise, Caliph radiated intensity and determination. Her eyes burned with a fierce resolve as she strode down the aisle, ignoring the gasps of disbelief from the assembled guests. When she reached the dais where Aaron and Lyrian stood side by side, she planted herself firmly in front of them, arms crossed defiantly. "You can't marry him alone, sister," Caliph declared, her voice ringing out like a challenge. "He was promised to me as well." A collective murmur swept through the room. Some attendees shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others leaned forward eagerly, sensing the makings of a scandal. Even the usually stoic guards exchanged bewildered looks, unsure how to handle the unexpected disruption. Aaron blinked, momentarily speechless. His mind raced to process what Caliph had just said. Promised to both sisters? That couldn't be right. Could it? Lyrian, however, didn't look surprised. Instead, she squared her shoulders, meeting her sister's gaze with equal parts defiance and sorrow. "Caliph?" she began, her tone measured yet tinged with frustration. "You know full well that father intended Aaron for me. The agreement was clear. It has always been clear." "Clear?" Caliph scoffed, her lips curling into a bitter smile. "Oh, please. You've rewritten history to suit yourself, haven't you? Do you really think I'd let you hog the spotlight again? First it was the crown, then the diplomatic missions, and now this? No, Lyrian. Not this time." Her words struck a chord, sending ripples of tension throughout the room. While most knew of the rivalry between the two sisters, few had witnessed it play out so publicly, or explosively. For years, Caliph had lived in Lyrian's shadow, constantly overshadowed by her older sister's accomplishments. And now, faced with the prospect of losing the one thing she believed rightfully belonged to her, she refused to back down. Aaron glanced between the two women, feeling increasingly like a pawn caught in the middle of a galactic chess match. Ladies?" he ventured hesitantly, raising a hand as if to interject. Maybe we should. No, Aaron, Lyrian interrupted, her voice firm. She turned back to Caliph, her glowing skin now tinged with a faint pink hue, a sign of rising emotion. If you have something to say, say it. But don't drag Aaron into this. This is between us. Oh, isn't it precious? Caliph sneered, taking a step closer. Always playing the noble queen, aren't you? Pretending you're above it all while secretly scheming to keep everything for yourself. Well, guess what? I'm done playing second fiddle. Before anyone could respond, Caliph reached into the folds of her cloak and pulled out a rolled-up parchment sealed with wax bearing the insignia of the Daxter family. With a flourish, she unfurled it and held it aloft for all to see. Behold, she announced triumphantly, the original inheritance contract, signed, sealed, and witnessed by our esteemed elders. Aaron belongs to both of us? Or have you conveniently forgotten that little detail? The room fell silent as countless pairs of eyes darted between the document and the three central figures. Aaron squinted at the parchment, trying to make sense of the intricate symbols and glyphs scrawled across its surface. Whatever it said, it was clearly enough to shake the foundation of the entire ceremony. Lyrian's jaw tightened as she studied the contract, her earlier composure beginning to crack. This changes nothing, she insisted, though her voice wavered slightly. The terms are ambiguous at best. Father never intended. Ambiguous. Caliph cut her off, her tone dripping with mockery. Oh, save it, Lyrian. Stop pretending you didn't know. Deep down, you've always feared I'd expose the truth someday. Well, here I am. With that, she turned to face the audience, addressing them directly. Ladies and gentlemen of Zentrix Prime, allow me to clarify matters. Our beloved princess wishes to claim Aaron solely for herself, disregarding the fact that he was promised to both of us equally. Does that sound fair to you? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, some nodding in sympathy with Caliph's plight, while others remained undecided. The situation had spiraled far beyond anything Aaron could have anticipated. One moment, he was preparing to exchange vows with the woman he loved. The next, he found himself embroiled in a centuries-old dispute over ownership. Feeling the weight of dozens of stares upon him, Aaron cleared his throat nervously. Look, maybe we can talk about this later? He suggested weakly, attempting to diffuse the escalating tension. You know, privately? Over tea or something. Caliph shot him a glare that could melt titanium. Tea? Seriously? After everything I've just revealed? No, Aaron. We're settling this now. Right here, right now. And with that, the battle lines were drawn. Lyrian versus Caliph. Tradition versus ambition. Love versus legacy. As the drama unfolded, one thing became abundantly clear. Aaron's life was about to get infinitely more complicated. Aaron's mind raced as he tried to process the whirlwind of emotions swirling around him. Here he was, standing in the middle of an alien royal wedding-turned spectacle, caught between two powerful women who claimed equal rights to his future. He glanced at Lyrian, whose shimmering skin had taken on a pale lavender hue, a sign of her distress. Her usually serene expression was clouded with worry, and he could see the slight tremble in her hands as she clutched the ceremonial veil. Turning to Caliph, he noticed how her posture mirrored that of a predator ready to strike. Her eyes sparkled with a mixture of triumph and desperation, and her shifting hair color, currently a blazing orange, reflected her volatile emotional state. The resemblance between the sisters was undeniable, yet their personalities seemed to exist on opposite ends of the spectrum. Lyrian represented order and tradition, while Caliph embodied chaos and change. I'm sorry, Aaron finally managed to speak, but could someone explain why I'm being treated like a piece of intergalactic property? His attempt at humor fell flat as both sisters turned their penetrating gazes toward him simultaneously. You're not property, Lyrian quickly interjected, stepping closer to him. You're my future. Our families have maintained this alliance for generations. It's about preserving peace between our worlds. Peace, Caliph snorted, circling around them like a shark. Is that what we're calling it now? Because last I checked, our peace has been anything but peaceful. She pointed an accusing finger at her sister. Remember the trade embargo 5 cycles ago? Or how about the border skirmishes near the Crystal Nebula? That's exactly why we need this union, Lyrian countered, her voice rising. To prevent further conflict. Aaron represents hope for a new beginning, a chance to heal old wounds. A new beginning? Caliph laughed bitterly. No, dear sister. This is about maintaining control, keeping power within your grasp. Don't pretend this is about anything else. She turned to Aaron, softening her tone slightly. Don't you see? They've been grooming you for this role since you arrived. It's not about love or choice. It's about politics. Aaron felt his stomach churn as pieces began falling into place. The seemingly coincidental encounters, the carefully orchestrated meetings with Zentrixian officials, the constant emphasis on cultural traditions, or it all suddenly made terrible sense. He looked at Lyrian, searching her eyes for answers. Is that true? Have you been manipulating me this whole time? No. Lyrian reached for his hand, but he instinctively stepped back. Yes, there were expectations, but my feelings for you are real. Every moment we've spent together, every conversation, every laugh, those were genuine. Kalith rolled her eyes dramatically. Oh, spare us the romantic drivel. Let's talk about reality. Do you know what happens if this marriage goes through as planned? Half of our population will feel betrayed, thinking their rightful claim has been ignored. There will be protests, possibly riots. Is that what you want, Aaron? To be the cause of civil unrest? But splitting the arrangement, Lyrian argued, that would create even more problems. How would that work? Polygamy isn't accepted in either of our cultures. Says who? Kalith challenged. We're royalty. We make the rules. Besides, humans seem quite adaptable when it comes to relationships. Don't they? She gave Aaron a pointed look. Unless you're saying you wouldn't be able to handle having 2 wives? The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees as all eyes turned to Aaron. His mind raced through various scenarios, each more absurd than the last. 2 wives? On an alien planet? Was this some cosmic joke? This is insane, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. I didn't sign up for this. I was just trying to fix my ship and get home. Home. Kalith pounced on his words. You mean Earth? The planet that abandoned you when your vessel malfunctioned? The same planet that hasn't sent a single rescue mission since you crashed here 6 months ago. That's not fair. Lyrian protested. Aaron chose to stay. He's built connections here. Friendships. Friendships. Kalith interrupted again. Or strategic alliances. Face it, sister. You've been playing him like a harp since day one. The accusations flew back and forth, each word cutting deeper than the last. Aaron watched as the 2 sisters circled each other like combatants in an arena. Their words weapons in a battle that had likely been brewing for years. He realized with growing unease that this wasn't just about him. It was about power, legacy, and perhaps most importantly, identity. Lyrian represented the established order, the traditional path that promised stability but demanded sacrifice. Kalith embodied rebellion, challenging norms and seeking change even if it meant risking everything. And here he stood, the unwitting fulcrum upon which their entire world might tip. The argument intensified, voices rising until they echoed off the crystalline walls. Guests began whispering among themselves, some discreetly recording the scene on their devices. Aaron felt trapped in a nightmare where every attempt to speak only made things worse. Each sister interpreted his hesitation as confirmation of their own narrative. Lyrian saw indecision born of loyalty, while Kalith viewed it as awakening to manipulation. Suddenly, a loud crack split the air. Everyone froze as a section of the ceremonial platform beneath them began to glow ominously. Ancient runes carved into the crystal floor pulsed with energy, responding to the heightened emotions in the room. The inheritance contract, still clutched in Kalith's hand, started to emit a soft hum, its symbols illuminating one by one. What's happening? Aaron asked, alarm creeping into his voice. The contract. Lyrian breathed, her eyes widening in realization. It's activating the arbitration protocol. Arbitration protocol? Aaron repeated, backing away from the glowing runes. What does that mean? It means, Kalith explained, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear, that the ancient laws are stepping in. We're about to find out who's telling the truth once and for all. Before anyone could react further, the runes surged brighter, enveloping the 3 of them in a sphere of pulsating light. The guests scrambled backward, creating a wide circle around the illuminated area. Through the shimmering barrier, Aaron could see concerned faces, hear muffled shouts, but everything seemed distant, as if underwater. Inside the sphere, the atmosphere changed dramatically. The air grew heavier, charged with static electricity that made their hair stand on end. Ancient symbols floated around them, rearranging themselves into complex patterns that seemed to pulse with intelligence. A deep, resonant voice filled the space, speaking in a language that somehow they all understood. "Hear now the judgment of the ancients," the voice intoned. "Two claims have been made upon one soul. Let the truth be revealed through trial." Without warning, the ground beneath their feet transformed into a holographic representation of their past interactions. Scenes played out in rapid succession. Aaron's initial arrival on Zentrix Prime, his first meeting with Lyrian, subsequent encounters with Caliph, diplomatic gatherings, private conversations, everything was laid bare for examination. The sisters watched with growing unease as certain moments highlighted themselves, glowing brighter than others. "These are the key events," the voice continued. "Each carries weight in determining the validity of your claims. Observe carefully, for lies cannot withstand the light of truth." One particular memory expanded before them. A formal dinner held shortly after Aaron's arrival. In the vision, Lyrian sat beside him, explaining various cultural customs while Caliph observed from across the table. What caught everyone's attention was a subtle interaction between the sisters, a brief touch of hands underneath the table, accompanied by a meaningful glance that spoke volumes. "That was when we agreed," Caliph whispered, her voice barely audible. "When we decided to share." Lyrian's head snapped toward her sister. "No, that's not true. You twisted my words." Another scene emerged. A private meeting between Lyrian and their father, the former king. The elderly ruler handed her a sealed envelope, saying, "This contains your future, daughter. Guard it well." As Lyrian accepted it, her expression showed both gratitude and trepidation. "The inheritance," Aaron realized aloud. "That's when you received the contract." "Not quite," the ancient voice corrected. Another memory surfaced, this time showing Caliph entering their father's study days later. The king, looking significantly weaker, handed her a similar envelope. "For balance," he said cryptically. "Sometimes, sharing power creates stronger bonds than holding it alone." The revelation hit them all like a shockwave. There hadn't been one contract, there had been two. Two separate promises, each carrying equal weight and authority. The arbitration system, designed to resolve such conflicts, was now processing this unprecedented situation. "The complexity increases," the voice announced. "Two valid claims exist. Therefore, the trial must proceed to the next stage, the challenge of intentions." Instantly, the holographic memories dissolved, replaced by three pedestals materializing around them. Each bore a crystalline orb, pulsating with different colors. Blue for Lyrian, red for Caliph, and green for Aaron. The orbs emitted gentle hums, resonating with their innermost thoughts and desires. "Place your hands upon the orbs," the voice instructed. "Let your true intentions be known." Hesitantly, they each approached their respective pedestals. As their palms made contact with the cool surfaces, visions flooded their minds, not of the past, but of possible futures. Aaron saw himself navigating life with Lyrian, learning to rule alongside her, adapting to the responsibilities of royalty. Then, another vision overlapped. Living with Caliph, embracing adventure and change, constantly pushing boundaries. The sisters experienced similar revelations. Lyrian glimpsed a future where she maintained peace and order, but also saw the potential loneliness of ruling without genuine partnership. Caliph witnessed the thrill of breaking traditions, yet also recognized the risks of instability and conflict. "The possibilities present themselves," the voice declared. "Now must come the ultimate test, the trial of unity." The orbs detached from their pedestals, floating toward each other until they formed a triangle in midair. A beam of light connected them, creating a prism that cast rainbow patterns across the chamber. The ancient voice spoke again, this time with urgency. "To resolve this impasse, all parties must prove their capacity for unity. Should any fail, the contract becomes void, and the claim dissolves. However, success requires more than mere words. It demands action." Suddenly, the floor beneath them shifted again, transforming into a vast simulation of Zentrix Prime's most challenging environments. Towering crystal mountains appeared on one side, while raging rivers of liquid light flowed on the other. Between them stretched a narrow bridge made of transparent crystal, swaying gently in an artificial wind. "One must cross the bridge of understanding," the voice explained. "Only by reaching the center together can the trial be completed. But beware. The bridge responds to doubt and discord. Trust must guide your steps." Without further explanation, the barrier surrounding them disappeared, leaving them exposed to the simulated elements. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the three figures stood at the bridge's edge, contemplating their next move. The weight of their decision hung heavy in the air, for more than just their personal futures rested on the outcome. Aaron took a deep breath, staring at the precarious bridge before them. The transparent crystal structure seemed impossibly fragile, swaying ever so slightly in the manufactured breeze. He glanced at the two sisters, each standing rigid with determination etched across their faces. This wasn't just about crossing a bridge. It was about finding common ground in a sea of conflicting emotions and expectations. "All right," Aaron said finally, rubbing his palms against his ceremonial robes. "Let's do this. Together." He extended a hand to each sister, waiting for them to make the first move. Lyrian hesitated, her luminous skin flickering between shades of uncertainty. "We need to coordinate our steps," she suggested, her voice steadier than her expression. "If one of us doubts, the bridge will destabilize. We must maintain complete trust." "Trust?" Caliph raised an eyebrow skeptically. "Coming from you, that's rich. Why should we believe anything you say?" "Because we don't have a choice," Aaron snapped, surprising even himself with the forcefulness of his tone. Both women turned to look at him, startled. "Look, I don't understand half of what's going on here, but I know this much. Fighting isn't going to solve anything. If we don't work together, we'll all fall, literally and figuratively." His words seemed to strike a chord. After a tense moment, Caliph nodded grudgingly. "Fine, but if she tries anything—" "If I try anything?" Lyrian countered, her voice rising. "You're the one who barged in here and disrupted everything." "Enough!" Aaron shouted, startling both sisters into silence. "I mean it. No more arguing. From this point forward, we focus on getting across. Deal?" Reluctantly, they both agreed. The three formed a cautious triangle at the bridge's edge, each maintaining eye contact with the others. Slowly, deliberately, they stepped onto the crystalline surface together. The moment their weight touched the bridge, it responded with a gentle hum, vibrating beneath their feet. The transparent structure provided an unsettling view of the chasm below, filled with swirling clouds of iridescent mist. Aaron swallowed hard, focusing on maintaining steady breathing. "Remember," Lyrian whispered, her voice surprisingly calm, "we move as one. Any sudden movement could trigger instability." They took their first synchronized steps, each person mirroring the other's movements. The bridge held firm, its vibrations remaining steady. Encouraged, they pressed onward, gradually finding a rhythm. Aaron focused on keeping his steps light and deliberate, while the sisters maintained constant communication through subtle gestures and shared glances. About halfway across, disaster nearly struck. Caliph's foot slipped slightly on a particularly smooth section, causing her to stumble. Instinctively, Aaron reached out to steady her, but the sudden movement caused the bridge to wobble dangerously. Alarms blared around them as cracks began forming in the crystal surface. "Stay calm," Lyrian commanded, her voice cutting through the panic. "Focus on your breathing. Visualize stability." She locked eyes with both Aaron and Caliph, transmitting a sense of calm that somehow helped them regain their composure. Slowly, deliberately, they readjusted their positions, redistributing their weight evenly across the bridge. The cracks stopped spreading, and the alarms ceased. For a moment, they simply stood there, hearts pounding in unison, acutely aware of how close they'd come to failure. "We can't afford any more mistakes," Aaron stated, his voice steady despite his racing pulse. "From now on, we communicate every move before we make it." Agreeing silently, they developed a system of hand signals and nods, ensuring complete coordination before each step forward. The progress became slower but more methodical, each movement calculated and precise. As they neared the center of the bridge, the challenges became more complex. Sections of the path would occasionally shift or become temporarily invisible, testing their ability to adapt while maintaining their unified approach. Through it all, something remarkable began to happen. The initial tension between the sisters started to ease, replaced by a growing understanding of their shared goal. Caliph, who had always prided herself on independence, found herself appreciating Lyrian's strategic thinking. Meanwhile, Lyrian discovered a newfound respect for her sister's quick reflexes and innovative problem-solving skills. Aaron, positioned between them, became the anchor that kept their formation stable. His presence forced them to communicate directly rather than through him, leading to moments of genuine cooperation. When a particularly tricky section required them to shuffle sideways while maintaining hand contact, Caliph actually cracked a smile at Lyrian's improvised solution, earning a surprised laugh in return. As they finally reached the center platform, the bridge stabilized completely, its humming transforming into a harmonious melody. The crowd watching from the safety of the hall erupted into cheers, though the sound felt distant compared to the intimate connection that had formed between the three travelers. Breathing heavily but triumphant, they turned to face each other. Something fundamental had shifted during their journey across the bridge. The hostility that had characterized their relationship had given way to a tentative but genuine understanding. They weren't just three individuals anymore. They had become a team, bound together by their shared experience and mutual survival. "Well," Aaron said, breaking the silence with a nervous chuckle, "that was something." To his surprise, both sisters laughed, not the mocking kind, but genuine amusement. For the first time, he saw them not as rivals fighting over him, but as two strong women who had found common ground through adversity. The realization filled him with a mixture of relief and anticipation, knowing that whatever came next would require all three of them working together. Their moment of triumph was short-lived, however, as the ancient voice returned, echoing through the chamber with renewed intensity. "The trial of unity has been partially fulfilled, but the final challenge awaits. Prepare yourselves for the revelation of hearts." Before anyone could react, the platform beneath their feet began to transform once more. The crystalline surface melted away, revealing a complex network of neural pathways that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. The patterns resembled the synaptic connections of a brain, stretching out in all directions and creating an intricate web that surrounded them completely. "Step forward," the voice commanded. "Three paths lie before you, each representing a possible future. Choose wisely, for your decisions will shape not only your destinies, but the fate of Zentrix Prime itself." Three distinct corridors emerged from the neural network, each radiating a different energy signature. The first path glowed with a soft, steady blue light, emanating waves of tranquility and order. The second pulsed with vibrant red energy, crackling with dynamic potential and risk. The third, bathed in emerald green, seemed to breathe with life, shifting and adapting as they watched. "The blue path represents tradition and stability," the voice explained. "It leads to a future where established customs are preserved, ensuring continuity but potentially stifling growth. The red path embodies change and innovation," it continued. "Choosing this route would usher in an era of rapid development and evolution, though at the cost of potential instability and conflict. The green path signifies balance and adaptation," the voice concluded. "It offers a future where both tradition and progress coexist, though mastering this equilibrium requires great wisdom and sacrifice." Aaron felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Each path seemed to call to different aspects of his personality: the comfort of stability, the thrill of change, the promise of balance. He glanced at the sisters, noting how each seemed drawn to a different corridor, their body language betraying their preferences. "We need to discuss this," Aaron stated firmly, gesturing for them to form a huddle. Surprisingly, both women complied without argument, recognizing the gravity of the moment. "The blue path makes the most sense," Lyrian began, her voice laced with conviction. "Our people value tradition above all else. Maintaining stability would prevent widespread unrest and ensure a smooth transition of power. But at what cost?" Caliph countered immediately. "Stifling progress has been our downfall for centuries. The red path offers opportunity. Yes, it's risky, but isn't that better than stagnation? And the green path?" Aaron interjected, studying the shifting energies. "It seems to offer the best of both worlds," but the voice mentioned sacrifice. "What kind of sacrifice are we talking about?" The question hung in the air, unanswered. As they deliberated, the neural network around them began to respond to their discussion, the pathways subtly shifting and rearranging. Sections of blue merged with red, creating new patterns that incorporated elements of green. The very fabric of their potential futures was reacting to their debate, evolving in real time. "We need to consider more than just our personal preferences," Aaron continued, his voice gaining strength. "This decision affects an entire planet. We can't base it solely on what feels comfortable or exciting." Lyrian nodded thoughtfully, her earlier certainty wavering. "Perhaps we're approaching this wrong. Instead of choosing based on ideology, Maybe we should consider what each path requires of us personally. Caliph frowned, considering this new angle. The blue path would demand strict adherence to protocol, probably too restrictive for all of us. The red path would require constant innovation, which might be exhausting in the long run. And the green path? Aaron prompted, sensing they were nearing a breakthrough. It would require flexibility, Lyrian admitted. The ability to adapt, to find compromise even when it's difficult. To lead by example rather than decree. Exactly, Caliph added, surprising everyone by agreeing. It's not about choosing stability or change. It's about learning to navigate both, to recognize when to hold fast to tradition and when to embrace new ideas. As they spoke, something remarkable happened. The three pathways began to converge, merging into a single route that incorporated elements of all three colors. The neural network pulsed with increased intensity, responding to their unified understanding. The ancient voice returned, its tone approving. Your willingness to seek balance pleases the ancients. However, remember this, the path of equilibrium demands the greatest sacrifice of all, the surrender of absolute control. Are you prepared to share leadership equally, to make decisions through consensus rather than authority? The question hung heavy in the air, forcing them to confront the true nature of their commitment. Aaron looked between the sisters, seeing in their eyes the same mixture of apprehension and determination that he felt in his own heart. This wasn't just about choosing a direction. It was about fundamentally changing how they approached leadership and relationships. We can do this, Aaron declared, surprising even himself with his conviction. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Together, we can learn to balance tradition and progress, stability and change. Both sisters nodded, their earlier rivalry replaced by a shared understanding of the challenge ahead. As they stepped forward onto the newly formed path, the neural network responded by expanding into a vast corridor that seemed to stretch infinitely before them. The walls shimmered with scenes from their combined memories, blending moments of conflict with instances of cooperation, creating a tapestry of their journey thus far. The path ahead wasn't straight or simple. It twisted and turned, sometimes doubling back on itself, other times branching into multiple directions only to merge again. It was a physical manifestation of the complex future they were committing to, one that would require constant negotiation, adaptation, and mutual support. As they walked forward together, the corridor began filling with projections of possible scenarios. Diplomatic negotiations requiring compromise, cultural exchanges demanding flexibility, technological advancements needing careful implementation. Each vision served as both a promise and a warning. The path they had chosen offered incredible potential, but it would demand everything they had to give. Their steps became synchronized naturally, no longer requiring conscious effort. The energy of the corridor pulsed in time with their movements, creating a feedback loop of intention and response. Behind them, the audience watched in awe as the neural network transformed into a living map of their shared future, displaying the intricate web of connections they were weaving together. Yet even as they progressed, questions remained unanswered. How would they handle situations where their instincts conflicted? Could they truly maintain balance when faced with crises that demanded immediate action? And perhaps most importantly, how would their people respond to this unprecedented arrangement? These uncertainties didn't diminish their resolve. If anything, they strengthened it. The path they had chosen wasn't about finding easy answers. It was about committing to the process of seeking solutions together. As they moved deeper into the corridor, new challenges began emerging, holographic representations of potential obstacles that tested their ability to think and act as a unified team. One such challenge manifested as a diplomatic crisis involving neighboring star systems. The scenario forced them to negotiate terms that satisfied both traditionalists and progressives, requiring them to draw upon each other's strengths while managing their differences. Another presented a technological breakthrough that threatened to disrupt social structures, demanding they find ways to implement change without causing widespread upheaval. Through each trial, their connection deepened. They developed a system of nonverbal communication, able to anticipate each other's thoughts and reactions. What had started as a reluctant alliance forged through necessity was transforming into something more profound, a genuine partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. The corridor continued to evolve around them, reflecting their growing unity. The once separate colors of blue, red, and green had blended into a spectrum of possibilities, each shade representing a different aspect of their combined leadership style. The ancient voice, which had been silent for some time, returned with a final message. The path of balance is never ending. Your journey has only begun. Remember that true unity is not about eliminating differences, but about celebrating them. May your choices reflect wisdom, your actions demonstrate courage, and your hearts remain open to growth. With these words, the corridor opened into a vast chamber filled with floating platforms, each representing a different aspect of their future responsibilities. Some displayed economic forecasts, others showed cultural developments, and still others presented scientific advancements. The sheer scope of what lay ahead was overwhelming, yet strangely exhilarating. Standing together on the threshold of this new reality, Aaron, Lyrian, and Caliph shared a moment of silent understanding. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, filled with moments of doubt and conflict. But they also knew they had found something rare and precious, a partnership that transcended personal ambition and cultural expectation. As they prepared to step onto the first platform, ready to begin their shared journey of leadership and discovery, the room filled with a brilliant light. When it faded, they found themselves facing not just their immediate future, but a galaxy of possibilities stretching beyond their wildest imaginations. The story of their unique arrangement was just beginning, and already it promised to redefine everything they thought they knew about love, power, and destiny.